Welcome, Gellyahnah. I am so excited for you to be here today. Thank you for coming on to True Alchemy Academy to talk about soul contracts.
I am excited to be here and to have this conversation with you.
I I'm so excited because I found you last year on TikTok when things were really good and that platform was feeling a little bit more open, perhaps. And I watched a video of you just, I don't even remember which one it was, but I immediately was like, this is really cool. And then this year again, it kind of found me, but I had this platform. So I was like, perfect way to show people and teach them what other things are out there for them.
Yeah, and a great way for us to connect.
Yeah, I know. I was so excited. I was like, perfect. I kind of know a little bit about you because I was on TikTok last year, but could you tell me more about how soul contracts found you and like what this work really means to you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great place to start. So the soul contract work, and I love how you said how it found me because it did find me. I was on my own spiritual and healing journey seeking, right, as many of us are. And mine was really triggered by my divorce that came through when I was 34. I was with somebody for 17 years, and then yeah, it was a long time, that's
It's
almost
a
a
long time.
lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so I met him at 17, and then at 34 is when, our separation occurred. And after that, there was just a lot of, healing that needed to be done. And I sort of went on this healing journey, and initially wasn't like I'm going on this healing journey, but it was like one thing after the other. And life has a way of getting us on a path. And so because I wasn't like so gung-ho about my healing path, life just sent me a few more traumas, like
Yeah.
disguised as potential boyfriends or whatever. It was just more karmic relationship stuff coming up. And finally, after the second one, I was like no, I need to make healing like my full-time job, like because my life literally depends on it. And I felt like I was existing, not living. It was just trauma after trauma. My heart was just, it felt completely shattered. And so I went in this healing journey, and I ended up I sort of started with a like an energy healer, and her modality at the time was breath work, and I'd never heard of breath work, and she didn't even explain it as breath work.
Oh,
But that's what I started with, and it was just, oh my gosh, so much poured out of me. Like that first session was absolutely the most pivotal session probably I've ever had. I don't know if it was the most powerful, but it was the most pivotal because it was so powerful that I was like, I need to do more of this, and I wanted to experience all the things at that point. So I did. I started to, I found different practitioners that, and I went to different, again, healers experiencing different modalities. And I don't even know how to sum this up for you because I'm trying to sum up 7 years of a healing journey, which is going to be difficult. But at one point, um, I came across the soul contract work, and this was just reading and researching of all the different things, and then this came up, and I was like, wait, what? Soul contracts, this is fascinating. And as I started to I saw an interview with my teacher, and before he even essentially the interview started, and I'm like, what is this man talking about? I need to know everything, so I started to go and research him, and I found him on Facebook, and I connected to him all in all the ways, and I went back to watching the show, and then I bought the book, and I'm like, it's not going to be here fast enough. So then I got the book on Kindle. I mean, it was just like I went all in. Like I was like, this is it was so fascinating to me. And it felt like every cell in my body had lit up, like every cell. It was almost like a remembrance. There are no words for those experiences in our lives, right? We have so few of them in our lives, but this was one of them. And I went down the rabbit hole of studying, and I started doing readings for people, and, took all the classes I possibly could. Again, I'm shortening all this for you, but it's the work found me. And at this point, I've been doing soul contract readings for 4 years, and it is just, it was so life-changing for me because it helped me find understanding, forgiveness, like that true deep forgiveness, because again, it came from a higher understanding of like, oh, wait a second, this is how it was all set up. Nothing was done to me.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has been done for me. And there's an opportunity for healing here on a much deeper level. So yeah, I took off with it, and here we are again. I'm not, I can go into more details, but to sort of keep the story short, that's how I stumbled upon the work.
Wow. The one beautiful thing about like the commonality between healers is there's always that like one really terrible thing that like breaks us completely where we go, okay, I need to make a change. And then from then on, it's just continuously finding our medicine essentially is like, what is our gift? And then you just keep going and going. And soul contracts are obviously like a very big gift of yours. And I think that that's such a beautiful way to have something brought to you, which you already knew, obviously, because you agreed to it before you came to Earth. But it's just so nice to be like, okay, that's my thing. Okay, we found it.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. Well, and and honestly, I mean, I love this work so much, but I also, for me as a practitioner, I feel like this was just my start into stepping and living a full-on spiritual life, because now I do this full time.
Right.
Right. And before, I had a very 3D sort of business. And I ended up selling that business and stepping into doing this work full time. And now I'm seeing more is coming to me, like more of the healing modalities, right? So like before you started recording, we were talking offline, and I was like, yeah, I feel like I'm glowing because I had two healing sessions today, and so it just, at this point, once I've, and we as practitioners, we have to have our own growth trajectory
Yeah.
and stay open to it. And the more I'm open to being in service, um, the more I'm shown the path. Okay, now we're going this way and now we're going that way, but the soul contract is my language.
I wrote that down. The more I'm open to service, the clearer the path becomes. I don't know if that's
Yes.
verbatim, but that is such a beautiful quote, and I can totally see it. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And the language of soul contracts is so fascinating because it is your name and it
Mm-hmm.
is like the frequency. So it is just like energy language that you can read. And I think that that is so fascinating. So it must be like, how do you see the world now that you've done them, that you've studied them, that you've been in this for 4 years? I just, I kind of want to know how, like, now when you meet people, are you like, I wonder if that number's in your chart?
Oh my God, I can't even shut it off.
Yeah.
I can't even shut it off. And I'm like, oh, you must carry the 7 frequency. And they're like, what's the 7 frequency? And then I go, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm working on my, I'm like, calm down. Nobody even asked you about their 7 frequency, yeah, I can't even shut it off. It's like because these frequency, there's 22 of them, and they almost become like archetypes to me. And someone's talking to me, I'm like, oh, they are so a 7, or oh, they've got some 9s in there. I can feel it. So yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's so interesting. So you just walk around life being like, yeah, no, I know. And do you think, obviously you love it and you can't turn it off, which I completely understand. Do you think sometimes it's a blessing that you can do that with people immediately, or do you think it's kind of a curse because it eliminates some surprise?
No, I always think it's a blessing, because if I can offer somebody an understanding about themselves,
Right.
right? That's again me being in service.
Ah,
Right. I mean, even if I'm talking to somebody that's very spiritually attuned, like I was at this spiritual retreat this weekend. It was a 4-day retreat. And so I was around other spiritual practitioners. And there's a woman I was talking to, and she's had a healing practice for a while. And she's just, kind of telling me about things in her life. And I'm like, you definitely must have an 8 frequency in your chart, and I and I go on to tell her what she is, and she's like, yes, that's me. Oh, that makes so much sense. So I think all of these are pieces of the puzzle of understanding who we are, where we come from, why we're here, why certain things in our life have played out the way that they have.
Right.
right? And there was another woman I had interaction with, and she got very ill, and I asked her, well, how did you cure your illness? She's like, I just went to the beach and literally sat on the beach for 2 weeks. And again, I was feeling her eight frequency, and to the eight, the elements are medicine. So literally for her to sit on the beach is that is her medicine,
Wow.
right? So she's doing this intuitively. I mean, she doesn't need me to, but I'm like, I see the connection. I can give her a bit of an explanation, like,
Yeah.
so yeah.
It is very helpful to have someone see something that you intuitively know, but then they can bring it. It's kind of like your intuition is the 5D, and then practitioners allow you to like bring your full awareness to the 3D so that you can continue practicing your intuition in both realms,
Hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
I've never
I
used that.
follow.
Okay. That's just what I feel like that would be. That's so cool. I didn't know that the eights were nature elements.
Well, in this work,
That's so
right? In this frequency work, not this is I'm not talking about the numerology aids that we
yeah.
maybe are more familiar with. So because this is actually maybe a good segue into it. So then how do I actually decode somebody's soul contract? Well, what I do is I take their birth name
Mm,
and I convert it into sound frequency, because sound is extremely powerful when it comes to creating our reality.
right.
So sound awareness is coming a lot more online right now. So we're hearing a lot more about sound healing, and like Guy even has a full show now dedicated to creation and sound. Yeah, because sound is very creative. And um if we look at two things that most people are very familiar with, like how did our universe get created? Well, scientifically, there's the Big Bang theory, right?
Big.
Bang sound. Okay. And then there's the biblical reference that we've all heard of. At the very beginning, there's literally nothing until God starts to create with a voice, right?
Right.
Because, and God said, let there be
Let
so.
there
Of
be
all
light.
the ways God could create, it's said, it's voice. So we have these two powerful references that we've all heard. So the sound frequency of your name is what creates your reality, and that is the soul contract that you're coming in to live.
Crazy. That makes a lot of sense. There's also, I can't, and this is not like word for word, I'm paraphrasing, but I believe that it's the Buddhists that believe the world started with the word Om. And
Yes.
and that's, oh, I get goosebumps every time I even say it.
Mm.
I went to a meditation course and we would all say
Chant.
Om. Yeah, we'd all
Yeah.
chant
Uh-huh.
together, and sound is so beautiful. And I actually went to Egypt last year, and
Mm.
it was crazy. I spoke to a couple Egyptologists there while we were in some museums and some temples, and of course I'm like asking them the weirdest questions. They're just like trying to tell me the hieroglyphs. I'm like, no. I'm like, where did they heal with sound? And there's actually a place in the Hathor Temple. I'm not sure if you've ever been or are familiar with the Hathor Temple, but there's a it's so cool. You go into like there's these different spaces and the acoustics are really neat in there, and they have like one little block and then light comes through, and I was like, you know what? I feel like this is where they would chant. So I like go in this little room and I start like just singing, and I was like, whoa, you can hear like it bounce off the walls, and it is so elevating. And so sound is really really key. And the music you listen to and the meditations you listen to, the words you speak out loud, like in reference to yourself, in reference to the world, is just they're so key.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why they say be careful what you say, because it's not even so much the word, it's the frequency
Mm,
behind it all too.
I never even thought about it in frequencies.
Hmm. Yeah.
So interesting. So when you decode, what are your steps? Like, what is your typical routine?
So each sound of your name has a numerical letter associated with it. Okay. And so or not letter, a numerical, a number.
Right.
So first, what I do is I convert the sounds into the Hebrew language. And we're using Hebrew because Hebrew is one of the 5 sacred languages. I know Sanskrit is another one. Please don't quiz me on the other 3 because I don't ever remember them, but I know Hebrew and Sanskrit, and they're pure vibration of source.
Cool.
And so I use Hebrew in particular because each Hebrew sound has a numerical value to it. And so once I convert it into those sounds, I associate the frequency with the sound, right? So for instance, and we're going to look at your chart in a minute, but your name starts with a K, Ka, which is the 19 frequency, right? So I convert that into all the letters and sounds within your name, and then I add them up and I put them around a Merkaba, which is a sacred geometry symbol that, a lot of people are familiar with, but they're not. But, the Merkaba is also the heart chakra symbol.
Oh,
So,
yes.
and I think a lot of people don't realize that, or they forget that, but it's like, it is literally the heart center, like your soul, like meaning like your purpose is from our heart, right? Heart centered. So, a lot of this work is just, again, it's tied into that. And then again, once I go around, the Merkaba, and essentially I'm able to see the karma that you brought into this lifetime. And, karma is going to be your biggest challenges that you're here to clear. We're not meant to suffer with our karma. God doesn't throw us down here on earth to suffer. Like so many people are just like, that's their belief system. And you know what that's called? That's called being a victim.
Yeah.
That might sound harsh to people, but listen, many of us have had hard lives, and we've all I shouldn't say we've all overcome it, because we all don't all, but that's the goal, is to,
We
and
have
really,
to try to overcome it at least. We have to
yeah,
put in the effort.
absolutely. And some people do choose more difficult paths and lives than others. Yes, that's 100% true, because the soul pre-plans and the soul knows what it's coming into, but then there's also free will. And, not everybody here is nice on earth, as we know that, right?
Yeah.
So you take all of that into account, and yeah, life can be difficult, but life can also be so beautiful. And it really just depends where you're standing in your fears or in your heart. And so the karma is going to be the challenges. It's going to be your fears. It's going to be, it's like those things that keep coming up that you have to keep working through. But if you work through those challenges, the karmic aspects actually become the greatest gifts that you're bringing into this lifetime with you.
Interesting.
Yeah, most people don't think of their karma as their greatest gift, but it is, because this is the gift that you're now able to share with others, what you've overcome, and to show them how to do it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Once you, yeah, just like in anything, once you work through the problem, you can then share your knowledge because you went through it. And I just think that it's always, always, always really important to try and work things out, because if you don't, then you're cheating yourself, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is difficult for some people, not to minimize pain, but it's, again, it's, this is where the healing comes in,
Yeah.
and the journey. So I'm able to see the karma. I'm able to see the unique talents that you've brought into this lifetime. And the goals, like, what are you trying to achieve? And then ultimately, what is your soul purpose? And again, I get all of that from the sound frequencies of the birth name.
Interesting. What do the talents entail? Like, what does that word mean in reference to the contract?
So, when they say, quote unquote, your God-given talent,
Yeah.
to me, that's kind of how I
Is that
explain
it?
it to people.
Okay.
It's just something that's so innate to you, and you're just good at. So,
Oh,
but within this work, it's also very specifically references, because your talent points, and again, when we look at your chart, I can show people, but it's like your talent points, that's what helps you work through your karma and achieve your goals.
ah,
So the stronger your talents are, I mean, I don't know if, let's just use that as an example. Like, if you have a strong talent, um, and like that strong talent is going to help you work through your karmic challenges maybe faster,
interesting.
right? If you have a talent that's maybe more etheric,
Mm,
and then you have a really tough karmic aspect, that might not that might not be the best combination. I mean, not bad. Again, it's your soul choosing, so it's not like the soul is ever choosing wrong.
right.
But in that case, if and when I see that, I will explain to people that a name change might actually be helpful to them, and we call it a name optimization, where we can actually, change your name to infuse it with more powerful frequencies to actually help you work through your karmic challenges.
Did you change your name?
I did. My name is optimized. Yeah, Gellyahnah Aakhen is my optimized name. I was born in the former Soviet Union. My name is my first name is Gellyahnah, and most English speaking people pronounce it back as Gellyahnah or some version of Gellyahnah. They can't quite say Delia, you know, like it's not, they don't have the Slavic pronunciation of it. So um it's just through different morphosis. It was, you know, I was stepping into becoming Gellyahnah because when I was younger, I actually thought they were mispronouncing, so I didn't use that name. I went by Gelly, which is like the short version of it. But you know, after doing this work and learning all about it, I'm like, you know, I feel like my name is actually so powerful, and I'm ready to step into that power,
Oh,
right?
sweet.
And I think that was a part of it when I was younger. I felt the power of my name, but I didn't feel like powerful enough to step into it, if that makes sense.
I feel the exact same way because my name has a hyphen. So
Mhm.
it's capital Kai hyphen capital Lee. And it's funny because my dad would never ever spell it right. And yeah, he would like text me or he just like wouldn't spell my name right at all. And then people at school wouldn't spell it right. And then I just kind of was like, yeah, whatever. It's just like a name. But like minus at Starbucks because it's like it's a Starbucks coffee. Like there,
Right.
it doesn't matter there. But when people text me or they like write my name, I'm like, no, it has to be proper because that's who I am. That's my name. Like
Mm.
now you need to understand that. And it took me a really long time to be like, no, like that's my name. Like too bad. Doesn't matter if it's a capital L, like spell it correctly. So I
Yeah.
totally understand how you feel.
Yeah. That's powerful. That, I mean, that you set that boundary.
Yeah, it took me a long time, but I was like, no, mm-mm. I was
Yeah.
like,
No,
this is a cool name. It's got a hyphen.
yeah, no, it is. My daughter's first name is Eris Dash May. So Eris hyphen. So it's Eris May. That's so I also have the hyphen in my daughter's name in there too.
Cool.
Yeah. So she does go, I mean, we mainly just call her Eris, but she, you know, she actually writes her name in full when she writes it on school papers or whatnot. So she like, it's cute, you know. I figured I'd give her some options. But again, it's not even me because the soul chooses the name,
Right.
you know, and it's the parents' job to receive the name. And if you ask most parents, they'll tell you there was that one moment in their life where they just knew
Mm,
that that's their child's name.
that's cool.
So I think it's interesting. Your dad was misspelling your name because it almost makes it because the other thing is, you know, when I go to optimize somebody's name, the first question I ask them is, do people misspell your name often? Because sometimes it's actually a sign of like, hey, check out these frequencies.
Interesting. Yeah, my dad spelled it like that. My mom is the one who came up with my name. So she told me that God gave her that name. It's her definition. And she was like, yeah, I was writing names on a piece of paper. And I was just doodling after you were born. And she was like, and then God showed me. And she's like, I knew that was the name. But my dad was a very disempowering figure that played a
Mm.
role in my life. So I think perhaps he was trying to like pull me here, but I was like, you know,
No, that's yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, but just and you're right that that may have been the case there. Every case is so unique.
so
Um,
unique.
but even sometimes people's names get misspelled on their birth certificate,
Right.
and you know, and because I require the birth certificate name as written, and people say, "Oh, well, it was misspelled, but here's my actual name," and I'm like, "No. I need the misspelled name because the soul knows, you know." And so, and I do the reading off the misspelled name, and they're like, "Oh my God, that's my life. That's crazy."
Whoa. That is
So
so, so neat. I'm happy I got it's my birth certificate name. So
yeah. So that's what we're gonna look at. Um, oh my gosh, I feel like I had I don't remember. We were talking about something, and I made myself a memo to come back, but I forgot. But maybe I'll remember it.
hmm, was it about the talents? God
It
given
might have
talent?
been. Oh, yeah. Oh, so with my name. Okay, yes, thank you. You brought
Yes,
me
you
back.
did.
So with my optimized name, so because it was Guyana, but if you look at the spelling, so I played with the spelling quite a bit
Mm,
to get, and actually I didn't even I don't even want to take credit for this because I was in class with my peers, and this was just one of the higher levels, and we were all chit-chatting, and I was like, you guys, for the life of me, I cannot come up with an optimized name. And I told them, I'm like, I think it should be something like Gellyahnah, because that's what everybody like sort of calls me by accident. I really actually really like the sound Anna at the end. It's very like Kabbalistic. And all of a sudden, one of the girls, she's like, I got it, try this. And she came up with this name, and we put it up on screen. And it was one of those jaw-dropping moments, because every single frequency was like, so for instance, okay, so you and I, you don't know this yet, but you and I have the same physical karma. We both have a 7-7.
Oh.
And this one speaks of, well, there's quite a bit, but one of the things that comes with is heartache. So I don't know if you've had a journey of heartache in life.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I feel you, sister.
Yeah.
So, but we put a 13-4 in the talent position to lay over my heartache, because like the 13-4 is this divine unconditional love frequency, and it's so healing, it's just, and yeah, so you know what I mean. So when we pulled up my name, it was like everywhere I was hurt, that there was the perfect frequency to lay on top of it.
Oh, cool.
So that's how we optimize names, and every name is different, because this is why I've got to have the original name to know what to overlay it with, because you can't ever change your soul contract name. It's like your birthday, right? You can't change your birthday, so you can't change your birth name, but we can overlay it with different frequencies.
That is fascinating. I did not know that that was possible.
And most people don't.
That's crazy cool. An
Yeah.
optimized name. So does it is it now the name that you have to go by to everyone? Like on all your legal documents, do you have to change it like that for it to like really resonate?
Well, I will tell you. So if you ask my teacher, he will say yes. I, am sort of testing this name out. Well, I mean, I've embodied this name. I'm not testing it, but because I've had so many names in my life, again, just being born in a different country and coming here, it, I've had non-legal names that I've really embodied.
Oh, interesting. More than one?
So yeah, yeah, yeah. Have had I've had many name changes in life. Not like, it's not even on purpose, because I just, moving here from a different country, you're just gonna sort of go through different names, and people not being able to pronounce my name. So I'm one of those people that has like 4 or 5 different names, and I'll have cases like that come to me. Like there's some people that have one name and that's it. They're one name. They don't even have a middle name. They just have the one name, And then there's people like me who have multiple names, right? So we carry all these frequencies. It just means it's a little extra challenging for us to work through stuff. No, I shouldn't say it's extra challenging. We're maybe presented with more stuff to work through.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot more stages,
Yes.
because if you have more than one name, more than one stage to go through these different things, which make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay. That's so interesting. What so you were born in the former Soviet Union.
Mm-hmm.
When did you go to America?
In 89,
Oh,
1989. Yeah. I was 8 years old, and it was like right before the fall of everything.
really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I really like traveling and I like learning about history. So I know America's really multicultural, but
Next level.
Canada's like next level. So
Yeah, I know. I've been there. I remember I think I was in Toronto one time, and I was standing on the corner, and literally I was hearing conversations, and I'm like, there's English, there's Russian, there's Hebrew, there's Spanish, there's Italian. Like literally, I was like, whoa, like this is so cool.
yeah, it's very like I'll go outside or I'll be in a lineup and there's always different languages going on every single time. And I think it's so fascinating because when you travel, you like pick up and like where people are from and then you can just easily have conversations with them because you're like, "Oh, I understand a little bit about you, maybe."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to sidebar that and learn a little bit more about you. What you mentioned that you do other like healing ways. Is there something that also found you, or have you just been like continuously staying true to your healing journey and just letting like whatever come?
Well, yeah, so interesting question. So I've always known that I sort of carry natural healing vibrations. You do too, by the way. You're a very natural healer. It just emanates off of you. I don't know if you know, again, maybe others have told you that, but I also see it in your soul contract. It's
Oh,
actually one of your talents.
oh yeah.
Yeah, so you're a very strong healer, but so I've always known that about myself, but mm, I sometimes we're in our own resistance, right? It's just the journey of being human. And so for me, until I was ready to sort of step into the role of actively being, in the healing role for people, as opposed to just sort of emanating my frequency out into the world. Um, so it didn't happen until I was ready. And once I was ready, when you want to step into being into service and being in the healing work, it almost doesn't matter what modality you choose. You just have to resonate with it,
Right.
right? And I'm like, okay, let's just start with something. Like just it's fine, and so I ended up studying with the same teacher that I learned soul contract work with. I studied something called divine healing, and that modality is based on intentions and working with your higher self, right?
Oh,
So you,
cool.
you call in your higher self, your client's higher self, and it's intention based, and it was channeled, it was channeled work, and it's so thorough. It is so thorough. I think the woman that channeled that, she was, I want to say she was an MD as well, right? So like thorough sort of modality.
Did you say MD?
Yeah, like a medical doctor.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. I think she was a medical doctor, but she was in that arena. And the um, the other way, the other modality, I guess we could call it, and it's this other modality is almost more of like a way of life, as it was explained to me, but it's about connecting to the creator, connecting to source.
yeah.
And like it's a prayer of the soul to realign the person, your client, and bring them back into their heart. Both are ridiculously powerful, and I've done, I practice both. when i do when I connect to the creator and do prayers of the soul, it's like being high on God's energy. I don't even know how else to say it. So I did 2 sessions of that earlier today before we connected. So all day I was like, like not even here. At one point, I think my mom called me. We had a conversation between the sessions, and I was like, man, what am I like? She said something to me about coming over tomorrow. And I'm like, what's tomorrow? Like, I don't even know what date. I'm like, where am I right now? Like, it was so, I'm like, I'm having this 3D conversation with my mom. I don't even know where I am. Um, but both are very powerful, and both are very different. And so I think a lot of times the healing, again, it depends on the practitioner, how integrated they are, their intentions, their purity. Can they, like, their ability to trust and surrender,
Mm,
right? To be a vessel for the healing to happen.
beautiful way to describe it because it is so much trust and so much surrender.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure what part everybody's at in their journey, but once you try just to surrender a little bit, you immediately see the changes happening around you. Because spirit, I actually was in the bath meditating once and I just like had this whole vision and I texted like all my friends.
Mhm.
And I was like, yo, when spirit wants to work, spirit works quickly. So just like allow spirit to work because things happen like that.
Yes, yes, absolutely. The healings happen, and oftentimes we're not even aware
Yeah.
of because the source energy, it knows what you need. You don't have to ask. You don't have to be like, oh, I have a broken heart. Please come heal my heart. Like source knows, okay, the heart needs to be protected. Let's work on the heart. Like the session I had with the woman right before you, it was like majority of the session, my heart chakra and my heart was on fire,
Oh.
and because she just needed so much protection of her heart.
Mm.
So, yeah,
And you feel it intuitively in your body.
I do. Every session is different. But I feel my own sensations. I don't always know if my client is feeling that too or not. Not everybody does. You know, some people are more sensitive. Some people are on their own journey. Like, but she told me this because wherever she is in the country, I don't know. She's like, it is freezing in here. I'm cold, but my heart, and she's like, all right here is on fire. She's like, it's so hot. She was like, she's like making sure I'm not burned. Like she's like, it is so hot. So her and I felt the same thing, right? It's not like that with every client. Again, it depends on how sensitive they are.
Right. Fascinating. That's
Yeah.
great work. And you can do that virtually, of course, because you just explained that.
Yeah. Yeah. The energy, I mean, it's,
No
you're
limits.
working with Source. Source doesn't care if you're on Zoom or right here in my hands, Source is like, I got you.
Like, just let me work. I got it.
Yeah.
Just be the vessel. I actually
100%.
I was carving pumpkins with my friend just before Halloween, and I don't know what happened, but somehow I just could see everything bad that had ever happened to her in her
Mm.
energy. And I was like, "Oh my God." And I said something to her and she just kind of like looked up at me and she was like, "Where are you taking me?" And I was like, "I don't know. Do you want to go there?" And she was like, "Take me there." So I was
Mm.
like, oh my God, never done this before. But I was like, okay, we'll just let Source like do whatever Source needs to do. Like pulled out a blanket. I was like, okay, lay down. Put a blanket over her, grabbed a bunch of crystals, put them around her head, like wrapped myself in cloth. And I was like, okay, I'll be right back. Went to the bathroom, said a quick prayer because I was like, I don't know what I'm about to do. So like I'm just gonna do it. Whatever you tell me to do, I'm gonna do it. And I saged her and like I worked with her energy and I could just like feel everything in her. And after that, she felt a lot better. I felt a lot better. And then the next day, I was painting and drawing. And I just was like trying to describe to my mom how I felt. Cause like it's hard, right? When you just like, I don't even know what I did. I just was. And
Mm.
I drew this picture and it was like, this is God. And I was like, this is me. And I was like, this is this light beam. And it goes through me to them. I was like, that's it. That's what it is. And I don't know if that feels similar to you, but it kind of sounds like something like that. That these different types of healing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you can, again, different types of feelings. There are modalities where you're calling in the light and it's coming through you. And in this one, the last one, the creator, connecting to the creator prayers of the soul, the energy is not necessarily even flowing from me to them. I'm being a vessel and holding the space to open them up, and it just goes directly to, I mean, it sort of comes in this way, but
Oh,
it's like, and it's not even necessarily, it's not like my energy. It's difficult to explain, but it feels so different when you've experienced different healing modalities. You can start to tell the difference between them, right?
okay.
And so this one feels different. It's just it's a high. I don't know how else to say it, because it's like I go into trance. I go in like this trance almost. So
Wow, that's incredible.
yeah. And that's cool that you did that with your friend. Like you just knew, and I'm not surprised looking at your chart. You're like I said, you're a natural healer. That's one of your talents. You carry that very powerfully. So you're
Cool.
like, I don't even know what I did, but it doesn't matter but you were the vessel. And the thing is, you carry that frequency. So the frequency is, when you said the intention, it's going to do what it needs to do.
Oh, fascinating. Oh, interesting. I'm gonna have to take so many notes. God,
Yeah.
yeah.
Should we look at your chart? Do you want to do that?
Let's look at it.
Okay, let's look at it. Um, I just here, give me 1 second. I have it pulled up, but there's one more thing I want to do with it.
Okay, cool, fun.
And then I'll share my screen and then we will look at it. Okay. It's thinking. Okay, so let me you have to allow me to share my screen.
Okay. How do I allow you to do, oh, share screen? Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, when you go to share screen, I think there's an option that says allow for multiple people. There you go, you got it.
I should be able to.
Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so let's look at it. So Okay, so you remember when I was describing in the beginning, again, I take the name that's on the birth certificate, I'm converting it into sound frequencies, and then I'm taking the sound frequencies and I'm putting them around the Merkaba.
Right.
Okay, so the triangle that's facing down, this is where I get all the physical aspects of your life, physical karma, talents, goals. The triangle facing up is the spiritual aspects of your life, spiritual karma, talents, goals. Ultimately, we have the soul destiny. We spend majority, well, the triangle that's facing down, we feel these frequencies very dominantly from ages 0 to 35.
Oh, wow.
Around the, I'm sorry, was that?
Wow.
Yeah.
35.
And around the age of 35, the spiritual frequencies come online. And this is where we, I'm sorry, around the age of 35, we see some sort of a life shift, right? A lot of people do, they see, but the thing is, it's like 7-year cycles, right? So around the fifth, 7-year cycle, when you're 35, that's when you start to see the shifts show up. It could be something that essentially throws you into your spiritual awakening, right? For me, like my divorce came through at 34. So you're 25 and you're clearly already on this path, so but there's more coming, there's going to be a lot more for you to step into.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a bad thing. Sorry, give me 1 second. I'm going to turn on another light really quick.
Yeah, of course.
Let's see if this is helpful. It's just getting really dark as we speak.
I turn mine on to winter.
Yeah. And okay, so and then ultimately again we have the soul destiny, which is like the core purpose of why you're here,
Okay.
right? And so looking at your chart, I always start with the physical karma first. So yours is a 7-7 physical karma. So is mine. The keywords for the 7 is to heal and open up the heart.
Okay.
So, you're here to, the 7s are here to bring people together for the purpose of healing. And like, do you find that people have a really easy time opening up to you, sometimes telling you their whole life story, maybe strangers just having an easy time talking to you?
Yeah, very easy. I do have a lot of people that open up to me in a very deep way that I don't think that they open up to anybody really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that would be the 7s. They're so magnetic and they pull people to them and people start sharing with them. And sometimes these people don't even know why they're telling you these things, but it's because when they share with you, it's very heart healing for them.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. So you're here to connect with people, again, connect to their hearts, help them work through stuff. The 7s have this way of helping people make decisions. They themselves can be indecisive
I'm
themselves, but
so indecisive.
yeah, that's your 7. But
Okay.
it's easy to help other people
Yeah,
make,
so easy for me. I'm like, oh, I see the path. Just do this.
yes,
Boom,
100%.
done. Then when it's
Yep.
with me, I'm like, hmm, I
Mhm.
could do so many different things though.
Yeah. So that's
Wow.
your 7. The 7s, though, the one thing about the 7s is they don't always feel comfortable being seen. So they don't always share as openly.
Mhm.
Or if they do, it's still very controlled.
Yeah.
So it depends on who you're sharing with. And if you feel safe with them, that maybe you'll be more open. If you don't feel as safe, then because they're guarding their heart, they're protecting their heart. And oftentimes they tend to wear different masks in life. So maybe with one group, you're a certain way. With your parents, you're a different way. At work, you're yet another way. So
Yeah, makes sense for me.
yeah, so that's a little bit about the 7 frequency. There's more, but at the core of it, again, you're bringing this in as your karma. So there's something about here that's going to be a challenge for you, whether it might be you experiencing heartache and then figuring out how to heal your heart, then to help others do the same. Maybe there's some heartache there with your dad. Sounds like he wasn't, because you said something about earlier, him misspelling your name or not being a good, figure or whatnot. So whatever however it shows up in your life and how you heal it, the sevens, they tend to attract people on a similar journey,
Oh, interesting.
right? So you're here to figure out how to heal yours and then help others do the same and to show up authentically.
Ah,
Yeah, to feel safe enough to show up authentically in front of people and actually share with them, connect with them,
mm,
because like the sevens are also really good actors. Like if you don't tell anyone how you're feeling, people won't know.
yeah, no one knows
Hmm.
because I never tell them.
Yeah, because the sevens, they don't want to be seen. They
Yeah.
don't want people knowing their business.
Yeah, it's very true. I've actually gotten in a few arguments with people over that, and I'm just like, look, I just don't want to open up right now. Like I'll open up when I feel like it, and I feel like it kind of it creates like a wall in my life, which I don't necessarily, now that I'm older and I'm getting more mature, I don't really want that wall up anymore, but I'm also very, very picky on who gets to come through that wall because I guess obviously like gotta protect the heart.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you've got a bit of a heart journey. I mean, I see it in your sevens, I see it in your soul destiny, the 13 fours. Did you ever have any challenges with your mom growing up? Or
Yes.
okay.
He
Like, are
is
we
my big,
allowed to say this on the podcast? I don't know.
yeah. Yes, I need to be more open about my relationship with her for sure because I do, that's one that I hold very deep in me and I don't talk about. Um, yes, I have a very turbulent relationship with her. She's probably my biggest challenge in life.
Okay. Well, your mother wound is sitting right on your soul destiny.
That makes sense.
Okay. So, to help you sort of wrap your mind around this with your relationship with your mom, you remember the soul chooses its parents.
Right.
Okay. So you were coming in to have an experience that you needed in order to do the work you need to do in this life. Because if you can find peace with your relationship with your mom and heal that one, and because the thing is, when you're in your heart, forgiveness comes so easily because you see the picture from your heart level, your soul level, right? And when you see everything from that perspective, forgiveness is actually very easy. And if you can heal that relationship, just think of what else you can offer to the world with your full healed heart, right?
Yeah. Wow.
So your mother, however she's showing up as a human in this world, with her own, traumas or whatnot, I don't quite know the story, but it's it's affecting your heart. And so the 13 fours, this is all about their heart chakra because it's like there's a lack of that emotional connection usually that they're working through. And but you're here, like it's in your soul destiny. This is such a loving, this is the unconditional love frequency, right? So it shows up as the mother wound, but where you're headed, your sole purpose here is to have so much love within you and then to be able to just share it out, like to share out your essence and to share this unconditional love.
That sounds so nice.
It is beautiful. And this is where you're headed. I mean, this is what you came here to do, so again, for you, if it's showing up as still the turbulent relationship with your mother, it's again, the journey is, how do I heal that one? Right? How do I heal that journey from that journey? Because this is what you then help others with. One of the things.
That's so interesting. Sorry. I'm processing your words.
Yeah, it's okay.
I I had a very hard time being myself with my mom after age, like when I was younger I could see spirits and she was very like open to that and so she would like tell them to leave me alone and she was like very capable of helping, but then my grandpa passed away and we were all in the room when he did, and then that like she like broke and was like never herself again. And that happened when I was 11, so it definitely changed the direction of my life and my relationship with her as she just like kind of crumbled and like was no longer a mother figure. So I had to grow up really, really quickly. And then as I started to like progress in my spiritual journey, it was very, very hard to be myself because she was very judgy and very like, shh, don't do that. Like, that's not good. Or, you know, that's the occult stuff, or and I was like, no, like this is just me, this is who I am, like I have to do this. And she was very like, no, very judgy, very, you're gonna die. Bad things are out there, bad things will happen to you. And so I've had to really work through that to be able to for people to even see me the way like I want to be. And so she was
See,
like,
that's your sevens, yeah.
yeah, exactly. She was like that. It, everything that I had to work through was like completely represented in her, which is a blessing, right? Because that was so close to me. And every day, like I got to see who I wanted to be and who I didn't want to be. So it, you know, it's a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, yeah. No, that is yeah, having to grow up fast is not, it's but again, we choose the parents that give us what we need to do what we, even if it doesn't make sense when we're younger. And this is why inner child work is so important, because as an adult, oftentimes we can forgive and excuse anything, but the inner child is not rational. The inner child would say, but you were still my mother. Why didn't you show up for me?
Right.
Right. So it's the inner child that needs the healing.
Mm.
You being able to see spirits, by the way, is your 8 right here. The 8s have the gift of vision right here. The 9s have a gift of hearing. So I don't know if you hear, sometimes it
Yeah,
shows.
I do hear them. Last night there was one that said my name.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's your 9. This is your healing frequency, the 10-1. This is your natural, you being a natural healer. So this is a very powerful, you will carry very powerful numbers, the 10-1 and the 9-9. The 10-1 is the most powerful spiritual frequency in this modality. The 9-9 is the most powerful in general. The keyword for 9 is power, right? You can see this is like a dragon, the symbol. So initially in life, it shows up as disempowerment,
Mm.
but you're here to learn how to step into your power and use it with integrity. Oftentimes they're the 9s, they'll be the victims, and it's important not to fall into I am a victim, but like things just happen because it's going to keep happening until you learn to step into your power and not to give your power away or to let anybody take it. Boundaries. Remember how you said, like, I set boundaries. No, this is my name and this is what you will call me, right? So the 9s have a challenge with boundaries. The 8s have a challenge with boundaries. You're working through it, but this is why you have a challenge with it, because you have some of these frequencies.
Oh, interesting. And what does it mean in the physical goals then?
This is what you're trying to achieve. Like, this is what you're working towards, is towards stepping in, realizing your own power, stepping into it, learning your intuition, or listening to your intuition, and like not because the 9s are very intuitive, and one of the things they have a challenge with is actually trusting their own intuition.
Oh my God. I have such a hard time. Not now. Now I've learned my lesson that I always should trust myself, but it took me quite a few punches in the teeth to really get it.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah. But there, so that's your 9. That's so the 10-1s and the 9s, like, these are your healers, these are your channelers, these are the intuition is very strong. And you like I said, it's just a very powerful combination. And then you have a 13-4 soul destiny, which is just unconditional, Mother Mary, sort of just this love, like this, Christ consciousness frequency, almost like that pure love vibration, that we speak of, in the spiritual terms. So,
That's cool.
yeah, people feel very safe around you. People will, like, you're gentle. It's like you're very gentle, but you're very powerful at the same time.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it is cool, right? Hey, this is your artwork. This is
Yeah.
you created this. This is
That's
I'm
me
just
signing it. I'm
but
like,
yeah,
hello, I'm coming down.
yep. And then your 4-4. So you've got a 4-4 here and a 4 here. So the keyword for 4 is trust. So this is about you learning to trust. And oftentimes the 4s, they feel abandoned. So I don't know if you felt abandoned in life. I mean, you already shared the story with your mom.
But my whole family.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with it now. I'm no longer wounded, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, because when you're connected to source and you trust, it's excuse me, sneezing for the truth. When you're connected to source and you trust, there's no feeling of abandonment because you feel how deeply and strongly you're connected,
Mm.
right? Like there's no sense of abandoning. It's just understanding why, people do the things that they do. And it's the thing is, humans have, most humans live in fear, and that's, shows up as trauma in so many ways, right? It's fear. And so again, everything comes back to your heart, and you have such a heart journey in this lifetime. 7 7 13, this is the heart chakra. This is about healing the heart. For you, it's so important to step into your heart. You'll have all the answers from there, right? Because when you're standing in your heart, you're not standing in fear.
I had some really crazy dreams, and I actually had someone on this podcast. It's a friend of mine who lives in Berlin, and he does law of attraction. It's just a short anecdote. I texted him a couple days ago and I was like, "Hey, Clay, I'm having a hard time with this dichotomy of my mind and my heart. Do you have any advice?" And he sent me a lot of stuff about Christ consciousness, actually. So, very cool. Then I went to bed and then I had a dream, and it was like a really weird dream. I went into my life path number, like numerology. I walked into a room with my life path, and I knew I chose that path, and I knew that I was going to be okay. And before I went into this door, a lady read a Bible verse to me, and I can't remember which one. So I walk in the door, okay, and I'm seeing everything around me. And actually, I'm pretty sure that this was on a dragon in the room. And but then there was like these like it was really weird. Anyways, long story short, I actually ended up like speaking. Well, I didn't speak too, but the devil like possessed the person I was with in this dream and spoke to me. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, okay, no, like I'm good. So I left, and then I text Clay. He was like, what's up? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I feel like I got into my heart, but like the devil showed up in my dream, started talking to me. And he was like, I think that's a sign that you chose to be with Jesus, like Christ consciousness. And I was like, crazy. So that makes sense. All that makes so much sense.
Wow.
Yeah. This happened
Oh,
like
that's
2 days
beautiful.
ago.
Man, well, and here we are. There,
Yeah.
the synchronicities are just, they're just more signs for you of like, hey, you're on the right path.
Trust.
This is where you're going. But like I said, for you, I mean, for all of us, we should all be in our hearts. But for you in this lifetime, it is such a heart journey, but where you might find it maybe even more challenging to step into your heart because it's meant to sort of be a challenge for you to just fully embody it.
It is hard for me. It's hard
Mhm.
for me to express my love for people.
Mm.
I have a very hard time expressing my emotions towards people that I really like, so I'd rather not talk to them than talk to them, which super silly. I don't know why I do that.
It's because of your 7. You don't want to be seen. We know exactly why you do that. See, now you have answers.
Now I have answers. Now I can't just shy away from who I am. Now I actually have to do it because now I know it, and that would be ignorant of me if I chose to close my eyes when I see.
Well, it's a conscious choice of
Yeah,
stepping out to be seen,
interesting.
you know.
Oh, thank
So
you. Making
yeah,
sense.
and then your so just kind of to wrap up, because I know we're almost done here, but the 11-2 is your spiritual goal of 11-2. It's you're here to step into your own sort of philosophy of life. Like, how do I want to live my life and live your life in your own truth? The 11-2s, because initially in life, they tend to absorb all the crap around them and like dysfunctional patterns, and they don't even realize they're absorbing dysfunctional patterns, and they think that's their truth and that's the norm of life. And at some point, they're sort of meant to wake up and be like, wait a second, this actually is not how life is. And they're meant to rebuild. See, like this the square here, that's them rebuilding life from their own truth.
Wow.
There's also a bit of a theme of well, not a bit, but there's a theme of a loss here with this frequency. You sharing that story with me, you lost your grandpa, like you were in the room when that happened. That could be part of this. You losing your family, or it's just there's a theme of loss that comes with the 11-2 that sort of it's meant to show us nothing in life is permanent, and it's a part of that spiritual awakening and finding out our own truth.
Fascinating. What is the 17? Is it just an 8?
Oh, the 17. No, no, no. I'm so glad you asked me. The 17 is that's your public speaking number. That's you doing what you're doing with me now. It's about sharing your voice into society. Like the 17, this is the analogous mouthpiece of God. You have this amazing ability to say the right thing to people at the right time. Like it just comes through you.
Crazy. Why is it in the karma? What's
Oh, the
going
karma. Yeah, no, great question. I just told you the positive aspect. The negative aspect of the 17:8 is the 17 in particular. The lesson here is called slavery to freedom. So it's about maybe like somebody having, dominance over you in life at some point, and not having the ability to sort of speak, to say what you need to say, or maybe feeling unworthy of like what does it matter if I say anything? Who's even going to listen to me?
Oh my God. Interesting. Interesting. Took me a lot of courage to start this podcast because I was like, do people even care?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you did, because this is you working through your karma and stepping into your self-worth, because you do have things to say. In the 17:8, they usually share their story. They share things that are it's like when you share, this is how you emotionally engage with society. So, people out there listening.
This is interesting. I feel like now I understand a lot more.
Yeah, and that was just like we just went through it kind of quickly, because like but I mean, you still got a lot out of it, but I'm saying like in a full reading, there's when I connect with people, like I would have spent a lot more time probably talking to you about your mom and where are you now and what do we do, you know what I mean? Like it's more of like, okay, like, well, let's make this practical for you.
Oh, cool. Okay. So when people
So
come to see you, you help them by showing them and then kind of giving them like kind of a little bit of a guide on like to take home and how to like work
yeah,
through.
and honestly, each reading is so different. I'm just saying with you in particular, because
Oh,
I could feel that's sort of still like a landmine in a sense. Is I wouldn't be just like, oh yeah, that's in your contract, let's move on. Like I would have been like, okay, let's like look at that a little bit more, because I want you walking away feeling empowered, knowing what to do next. And sometimes I can't do it all in one session, and this is where I'm like, okay, we may need to do this in the healing session, right?
oh,
So we go from the soul contract reading to the healing session.
that is a very cool practice that you have built.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah. So there you go. That's the soul contract work. And this is, that was like I said, a bit of a mini reading, can spit it out.
Yeah, thank you so much for reading that. That was very kind of you. I feel like I got a lot more clarity on perhaps my habits and why I do the things I do. So now I'm going to be more consciously aware of the choices that I make when I'm in situations that I would revert back to my old habits. But now I'm going to be like, you know what? No. I met with Gellyahnah and I know what I need to do now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and thank you for coming onto the podcast. I really do. I didn't even know that you had these other healing modalities that you also offered clients. So that was really cool to learn about. And I 10 out of 10 obviously would recommend anybody coming to see you. And I just appreciate the time you took today to be here and also read for me. Thank you.
Thank you for having this platform to allow people like me to come in and share my work. So I appreciate you. And it truly was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.